In this tutorial, I'm going to explain how to code a guestbook with the Metayota editor. I just disabled the cache. Now I am going to open the default website. On this website, I want my guestbook to appear on the home site. I am going to search for the website.home resource in the resource finder to add my new guestbook there. In the editor view, I am going to add my new tag I call guestbook, but this tag does not yet exist. To create the tag called guestbook, we have to click on that resource in the menu. You need to fill out the title of the new tag, the name, the type, which would be tag in this case, and the project. Then click on that resource. The guestbook tag has been created. We need to grant permissions, so the tag permissions are accessible for the users. For this, we go to the access control view. We give access to visitors and users of our website to access the tag data and make server calls on the guestbook. In the editor view, we add a new HTML file. Click HTML on Technology and click OK. There we write the title called guestbook. For this, we just write the HTML code and add an H2 tag for the title. We need also to create a resource called guestbook entry. For this, we again have to click on that resource in the menu and fill out the form. As a title, we take guestbook entry and the name is the same, just with small letters and a dash instead of a space. As the type, we select database table, and for project, we choose website. Click on that resource to add the resource. Now we are going to define the parameters a guestbook entry has. For this, we switch to the parameters view. We click on that parameter and enter a title, a name, and select a type. Our first parameter will be name, which is the name of the one who wrote the guestbook entry. It has the type text. We call our second parameter text. It is the text of a guestbook entry. As a type, we choose big text, so it will display a text area to enter the text. There are all the parameters we need for the guestbook. Now let's switch to the access control area for this component to make sure the user has access to the component. We open the guestbook component again. There we first want to create a new form to add a guestbook entry. To use the form generator, we need to include the form.resource in the dependencies view. The form.resource is able to create a form of a resource, depending on the parameters. We use form.resource in the HTML code and set as a parameter resource type the guestbook entry, so the component will generate a form for a guestbook entry. The form is now in our HTML code, and we can click the I button to preview our form. The form is now in the website. It contains a text field for the name and a text area for the text. We additionally set the parameters label, which is the title of the form, and we set submit label, which is the text of the submit button. We set the label write guestbook entry, and the label for the button we just called submit. We again click on the preview button to see if the button and the title appeared. We add a new JavaScript file to handle the click on the submit button in the tag. In the JavaScript code, we create a new class called guestbook, which extends the class tag. There we add a new JavaScript function we call submit entry. We will call this function when somebody clicked on submit. We use resource.call to call the PHP tab of the current resource. We forward the data from the form to the PHP code. The PHP code also has the possibility to deliver data back to JavaScript. But in this case, we are just going to submit the new guestbook entry. We create a new tab and select PHP as the technology. In the PHP tab, our goal is to save the guestbook entry to the database. With the DB insert function, the guestbook entry can be saved. The $data variable contains the submitted data. We switch back to the HTML tab to set the submit event. The submit event is an event from the form.resource that is called when the submit button is clicked. We call the function submit entry we defined in the JavaScript tab. The event variable contains all the filled and form data. In the server admin, we click on the phpMyAdmin link to log into phpMyAdmin. There we need to create the table for the guestbook entry. We call the table guestbook_entry. We add a new database field with the name ID. We click on it to make sure that this field contains an auto-incrementing number. We add the name, which is the name of the person who wrote the guestbook entry. It has the type varchar. And a field with the name text, which is also of type text, which contains the text of the guestbook entry. The database table is now created. Now let's switch back to the website.home resource. In the dependencies view, we need to add a new dependency. We add there the guestbooks, so the guestbook component is automatically loaded when the home site is opened. I open my website again to test if it is possible to write a guestbook entry. I just enter my name, a text, and click on the Submit button. Open PHP My Admin again, and you see that my newly entered guestbook entry is now saved in the database. I also want to list all the guestbook entries on my website. For this, I go to the HTML tab of my guestbook. I added a new div tag to my HTML code. I add a new tab with PHP code. I am going to give it a custom name called get_entries.php. This PHP script will load all guestbook entries and send it to the client as JSON. Use the db_getAll function and pass the guestbook_entry as the table name. In the JavaScript tab, we are going to add an init function. The init function is called once when the component is created. It will load all the guestbook entries from the PHP service. To load the data, we call resource.action and pass the name of the file. In this case, it is get_entries. The function will deliver all the entries as a result. With the this.set attribute function, we can pass the variables to the HTML code. So we are going to pass all the guestbook entries to HTML. We want to repeat a block of HTML code with the for attribute. We iterate over all the items in the this.entries array. The individual guestbook entry is saved in the entry variable. Let's add an h3 tag for the title. With entry.name, we display the name of the writer. Add a p tag for the text. With entry.text, we access the text of the guestbook entry. Now I think we are finished with programming. We completed all the necessary steps. Let us now test if my guestbook entry appears on the website. Okay, here it is. Nashberg. Hi there. I just visited your website. Also, if we open the website, we see my guestbook entry below the form. Now we add another guestbook entry. Let's say it's from Tony. It is so easy to create components on Metayota. Register now for free on our website.